Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Took it on his forehand. It kind of handcuffed him a bit. Now Smith shooting, deflected wide. Rebound behind the goal. Sent out to the right by Barbashev. Petrangelo, a wrist shot, scores! Alex Petrangelo, first goal of the playoffs. 4-0 Vegas.
2-2 with 2 outs on Owen Miller. 2 runs in the 8th inning. Montero delivers. Swing and a drive. Deep left field. Alvarez staring. 2 more for the Crew. Owen Miller with a 2-run home run. It's 6-0 Brewers.
2-2 delivery is hit high in the air, deep to right field. Backing up to the track, looking up, and it's gone. Another home run for Paul Goldschmidt. This one to right field.
0-1. Swung on and hit well to left field. Way back it goes. This ball is gone. A 3-run home run for J.D. Martinez. His 3rd home run of the series and his 9th home run of the year. And the Dodgers have opened this one wide up.
Jaylen Brown coming strong around Strue. Tips it to the corner. Brent Williams touches out to Tatum. Return to Grant. He's open. Corner 3. Got it. And finally, someone's got a double-digit lead in this game. The Celtics have answered the Miami run with an 8-2 run of their own, and they lead by 10, 81-71.
We just tried to take it one game at a time. We tried to break it down. We didn't play well those first 2 games. We didn't deserve to win. But we didn't want that to define the season.
Jason Tatum sounded like he was in the back of a semi-truck there.
He's doing his best LeBron impersonation.
Well, they're just traveling back to Boston, right?
Yeah, we just want to take it, one game at a time. I never hear the one game at a time reference when you're facing elimination.
Oh, well, it's just one game,
Yeah,
DB.
it's
One game at a time.
One
Hey,
game
don't
at-
let them get one.
I do like the fact that Vegas teased us with a 1.5 point line yesterday. Yeah.
Did you cave?
No, I'm not doing. Listen. Your boy's a spectator.
Nice.
I
am king spectator sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the NBA is garbage. It's like best wishes. I mean, you blank and it's a 36-0 run, and you come back and somebody's down 7, and you're like, oh, that's good. So like on
a 36-0 run,
dude, it's wild. Like you do realize
Can you
that.
Imagine a 36-0 run.
You do realize at one point the Heat had cut it to 5, right? It was like 82-77.
Yeah,
and then it was 100-83
after the Celtics went on that 16-0 run,
Right,
and then it
so
was an
it's
11-0 run.
I mean,
Tatum finally made a basket in the 4th quarter.
How strange is Jaylen Brown? He is a surly. I don't know, man. Something is wrong with Jaylen. I think he's all right, probably like as a teammate, but he always acts like something's wrong with him.
Well, because there is, right? That's why he wears the mask.
Sometimes it's like you're winning and you're still mad.
Yeah.
No,
I get it. There was moments in that 4th quarter to where I'm like, all right, Jaylen, stop trying to do too much. You're up a good amount of points.
It's wild. But I mean, in this postseason of the major sports, hockey, NBA, like anything more fitting than what happened last night with Boston just drubbing the Heat at home?
No,
like it's been nothing but bizarro world.
Right. It was about time the Heat lost.
Yeah.
I think we didn't give Boston enough credit for the team they were playing. We gave the Heat so much credit in regards to, hey, Jimmy Butler's the guy. And
well, we were saying yesterday, like, boss, that's a good roster to be laying down.
Right. But we also were like, I don't know if they want to win a game.
Yeah,
I don't know if they want to keep playing basketball with this team.
So we'll see. Like,
I don't think it gets past 6. If Boston wins again, the Heat will win back at home.
Well, wouldn't you assume that Boston wins back at home?
That would be my guess. I would say 3-2, and then the Heat win 4-2.
Although it didn't work for the Stars last night, so who knows?
Gosh, and it all started with Jamie Benn and his egregious cross-check.
So is the team apologizing on his behalf, or is he apologizing?
The team.
Sorry about that.
The team is apologizing for Jamie Benn.
That stuff happens, man. It's a team sport. I mean, who just doesn't?
The captain?
I mean, come off the top turnbuckle for a flying Tito Santana shoulder elbow. I mean, that kind of stuff
What
happens.
were you accomplishing there?
No idea. I don't know what he was mad at.
Well, you were away from the play. He was mad that the puck was already off his stick and he got hit.
Yeah.
So he was retaliating. But in every situation that if you
he
put
was.
2 hands on your stick and you go down at the same time, like put it on the body. Take a 2-minute if you want.
It's going to be a problem.
You put it right on his face. Like that showed to me that there's a deeper frustration with this Dallas group.
Well, they can't score.
Well, and then what was kind of playing out.
And I know just when you were talking about, you like Brendan Moore and I like DeBoer, Paul Maurice is like, appreciate you guys thinking of me.
Yep, I see you. Well, he's going to see us in Vegas when we go watch Terrence Crawford fight, right?
Yeah, so I get it. And it's the same sticking point. I mean, at some point, folks are going to have to decide on a rematch clause versus a no rematch clause, and a couple.
And how quick is the rematch?
Well, so I mean, I'm not privy to that information. I know one guy wants the rematch clause, one guy doesn't. So, I mean,
can I guess?
Sure.
That it's not Bud?
Yeah, Bud is not interested in a rematch clause.
And why would you be?
Well, especially if you think you're going to win.
Right.
And here's the other thing. So with Bud kind of being a free agent in boxing, there'll be lots of speculation, but I'll kind of tell you what I think I know. With Bud being a free agent in boxing, I don't believe he's interested in the potential of making PBC any more money than he has to. Not a PBC guy, right? And so,
and you're not saying Pinnacle Bank Championship.
No,
you say PBC.
Yeah. So, you throw in the rematch clause, Bud wins. You're already in for 2 fights. Something happens, Spence wins. You're setting up a trilogy. Yeah.
Well, now you're just wear and tear on the body.
And he's just not. He's like, look, man, it just fits his personality. Tee it up, man. Best man wins. You don't no crying over spilt milk.
Right.
You get whipped, it's over. I lose. I'll shake your hand. You were the better man. And I think that's, and with him, Bud, now it's about business. He's so he just is not. He doesn't have. He's done better financially than he ever thought he would when he was younger. So,
and that comes with a big 0 after the dash sign.
Anything is gravy. So he's fighting for, he wants to make money, right? He wasn't going to be the B-side and get a 70-30 split, right? But it's also, he can afford to be smart. He is so comfortable in his own skin. It's not even funny.
Yeah, what's he proving? He doesn't have to prove anything.
I mean, look at some of the, you think he doesn't know how to spell check? He just doesn't care. He type anything, text anything, put anything on IG, whatever, right? Maybe playing darts at some hole in the wall dive bar, maybe doing push-ups over eating crackers. Like he couldn't, he's something else. We will, that's the next big thing. We'll get you to.
It'll be a nice fight.
We'll get you to go see TC. I don't know. I'm not.
Oh, we're going to Vegas?
I'm not married to the 29th, but I mean, we'll see. I know what the reports
live
say.
CNC in Vegas.
Are you guys going?
Maybe the first week in August.
Wouldn't hate it.
I mean, T-Mobile Arena.
Ooh.
It's about time. I just don't think Spence can win. All bias aside, I mean, I think most people know.
Right. I think it all just goes back to your original point. If you want to have rematch after rematch, is it about money? Is it about, hey, I'm worried about losing? Or what is the underlying meaning there? Because if I am Spence, I'm thinking I'm going to make a good amount of money off of this fight.
Yeah, you're going to have you're going to have a colossal payday.
But he can also make a lot more money if he keeps fighting Bud. But as you said for Bud's like, well, like I don't know if I need it.
Yeah.
Like I like the idea of fighting you. But do I need to fight you 3 times.
Yeah. So I think.
But if Bud loses, say he does, would he like that
carryover
effect?
Never even crossed his mind. Never even crossed his mind. And he's going to that look now, right? He's raggedy. He's not really shaving. He's spent some time out of town training.
He's like Uncle Drew of boxing.
Yeah, when he starts going to that kind of look and that kind of temperament, I mean, he's obviously getting ready.
Confident.
He only needs 6 weeks, and that's pushing it. I mean, he stays in shape. So, I mean, he'll be ready. At this point, I think for him, it's not business anymore. I think it's personal. Because some of the negotiations and contracts and kind of what people have said and tried to insinuate behind the scenes is just not. And he's not always going to come out and defend something, but a lot of consternation about who balked at the first contract. And, he had this cryptic message. He's like, man, y'all just believe anything or, just talking without knowing facts. Like, I mean, with him, I think he's content to let folks sit back and just chirp,
draw up whatever.
And he just doesn't give a what. He's going to go on about his business and, go to the rec center, get some shots up, go play some. Listen, he's an Olympic sport junkie. Not that hoops is an Olympic sport, but anything you want to do for fun, foosball, darts, ping pong, pool, go see that guy.
So he's a basement guy.
Man, listen. You be losing a couple dollar bills or some push-ups or something.
He's gonna hustle me. He's gonna let me win the first one and go, oh man, all right, 200 on this next one.
You know how your guy Rule thinks he can play ping pong? He would get wore the heck out by Crawford.
Was that just based off endurance or?
No, he's just
I got up there and just crushed it.
Now remember, he's truly ambidextrous.
Would he change hands like on the fly?
He can do. He's just good with his right or his left hand.
Does he like wobble like a tennis player when he plays ping pong? So he can do 4 hands only.
It's crazy. He's ridiculous, and he's highly competitive. So it's always.
Oh really? I would have never guessed.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, he'll just stand around. It's just weird. Like he wants to compete over anything. So, I get the reports. We'll see if they can make it happen, Captain.
Now, back to Boston and the Heat quickly. I saw that their series odds. Yesterday we were looking, and you had mentioned that, what was Miami when you got the message before Game 3 was over? The Heat were up 2-0. The Heat were they dogs still in that series?
I don't remember. Yeah. So Degenerate Aaron on Sunday morning, I went back and looked at the text the other day because I wasn't really paying attention to my phone, but it's like at 8 a.m. Because I mean, I'm in Des Moines. Listen, I'm single parenting. I'm like, I'm
You're
all
going
over,
to basketball.
Yeah, I'm all over the place,
Yeah.
man. So it was like at 8:05 or something like that. He's like, this doesn't even look right. Boston is still plus money the Heat are still plus money for the series. So I didn't think anything of
Right.
it. Went all day, whatever. Breeze played at 3. Still got to come back. It's Sunday night. And so when we were talking about it
Yesterday,
and I asked him, I said, when did you see that? And he's like, oh, that was before the game.
right.
Because he said yesterday or the day before, it was like minus.
Yeah, they were minus 1,200 yesterday.
Yeah.
The Heat to win the series.
So what is it now?
Take a guess on what it is now. After the Celtics got one game, take a guess on what the Heat are to win the series. I will give you within 50.
119.
So like if you think if you're going to say minus 500 and
Okay.
it turns out to be minus
You'll give me
550,
within
I'll
50?
give it to you.
Okay. The Heat are minus 165.
Oh, a little bit more north, minus 270 to win the series,
Golly.
which makes, I think, Boston plus 220,
Almost
if I
3-1.
remember. So after winning one game, which did Boston show enough for you to think, hey, they can still win this series after their performance? Because they didn't show that to me.
No.
No.
So minus 270 seems like a cash grab.
No, I get it. But I mean, that's juicy.
But then we look at Vegas and what they've been able to do throughout history of betting.
You're not laying almost 3-1 odds, are you?
No, but it's juicy
For
sure.
It's basically $27 to win 10.
That's no big deal.
I would, you know what, with me and being a parlay guy, I would throw.
Oh, you'd figure it out.
Yeah, I'd find a way to get good plus money out of that.
You're wild.
Even if it's plus 100, like if I worked my way back to plus 100, there's this thing where there's a trend where people double their money just with plus 100 every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you would take.
Wait, what's the trend?
So you'll parlay like 2-3 things, and they'll all be heavy favorites, but the odds end up being around plus 100,
just because of the number of.
Just because if you're like, hey, say Heat Celtics, Jimmy Butler to score 15 points
here you go.
is minus 450.
Yeah.
Well, you'll pair that with like 3 other things from that game that are heavy favorites. You'll only get to plus 100. And then you'll just lay $20. So then you win. And then you double down on plus 100 as time goes on.
I got you.
And then when you get to a number you like, say it's 500, say it's 1,000, you cash out and start over. And people make a ton of money doing that. I'm impatient. So I'm not one for that.
The stuff you find a combo is kind of funny. It's kind of funny.
It's just what I'm used to.
It's got to be touchdown.
Something like that. Maybe more of Austin Eckler now that he's going to be back in L.A.
Well, how about the incentive-laden deal? What'd they add? About another $2 million to that? 175, I think I saw.
Did he take a step back last year?
Well, I think some of that was his football team forgetting that they could run the football.
That would be the case.
Like
I like that call because they decided to throw it to 3, just randos when Williams and Allen were out.
Shane, he's on to you. Rando Calrissian. Did you find Rando last night?
I don't know, but the hope is to get Solo 2 out.
He said the hope.
Hey, that was trending last night.
What did I see a preview for? Oh, Miles Morales. Into the Spider-Verse has another movie coming out.
There is a second one of those
cartoon
coming out.
Yeah. Were you thumbing your nose up at cartoons? What is that all about?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out
if
I saw the same ad.
Yeah, like there was a trailer is what I believe the correct term is for.
What's it called? Spider-Verse?
It's something verse.
Into
it's
the Spider-Verse?
It's either
across. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Miles Morales has got round 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw the ad today. That's weird.
That we both talked about it.
Well, that you just brought that up, and I saw it on. I think I was watching ESPN this morning and saw it.
Yeah.
Is that Sauter again?
Yeah, it is.
Boy, he caught
he came into the office yesterday.
He caught some heat over his call-in meltdown.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm not. I try to stay neutral because I have friends in the recruiting business, but I also understand his point of view too.
Yeah, he's hilarious,
and he's kind of, in my opinion, the black sheep because he's the non-traditionalist. Didn't go to J school. He's kind of self-made grinder. So you either appreciate it or you look at him like this dude doesn't do it like everybody else.
Oh man,
right?
I mean,
But anyway, I say all that to say we had a good talk last night. Jason Peter came to talk to our football team last night over at one of the
whole team.
I mean, pretty much. We had 60 guys.
Nice.
61, which our off seasons are kind of weird because it seems like we're always meeting and getting information about stuff, right? It's like, I think we've had 3 or 4 staff meetings, which
seems like you've had a lot more.
And I'm probably low. Like we got one tonight for 8th grade orientation.
See, sometimes I don't even know. Sometimes you have meetings and they may not be called meetings. You're just there.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. But I mean, we got one at the school tonight. But anyway, he talked about something last night that I think is interesting because this is on the heels of recruiting and talent and things like that. And he was just talking, and sometimes I think he's searching for the right words because he's very animated, and they're young people. So language, he kind of worries about language. But I mean, if there's sailors, he's like Johnny Depp from Pirates of the Caribbean. Like this dude just lets it rip. But he was.
Did he run like him too?
He was talking about like player to player accountability, and it's funny because you were around our team a couple of games last year, and we were talking about all the coaching meetings that we have. 85% of them are about culture. Like, we even when we came together like as a staff early, was that March, and we went over terminology. Like we like parsed out all this terminology. We're gonna use this. We're not gonna say this. We're gonna use this. We're not gonna say.
Remember
this.
You telling me?
Is everybody cool with this? Just so
you want to talk the same.
We wanted to have common language, right? And I said common language builds in accountability. And all of a sudden, it felt like it was just clicking with guys on why we can have peer-to-peer correction without feeling offended.
Rewarding.
Do you know what I mean?
Especially at that age.
Then I can't remember one of the stories. I think it was either, I don't know, when we got beat by Arizona State or something like that. But just listening, I was like, you know what? That's still portable. It's 27 years later, like the peer-to-peer accountability, offense not blaming defense, not holding the defense accountable, even though, falling in love with fool's gold, like things that happened 20 some odd years ago are still a thing today. And I wish, like, on the heels of this recruiting thing, that at the end of the day, he's like, he's like, you're gonna have some teammates that'll have articles written about them and some that won't, and this, that, and the other. And he's like, all that matters is, how much you care about this guy next to you, because those guys that are writing, they aren't playing. They maybe have never played this, that, he just goes off on this little tirade. But you could finally just kind of starting to see, like, and it's the same thing loosely that Brogdon was saying about the Celtics before yesterday, that they'd kind of lost their way. And it was a slow process since the season started that they got away from their true identity because guys didn't want to say anything to one another and hold people accountable. It wasn't just on Missoula. It was, and that's pros that can't handle peer-to-peer accountability. For some reason, it's just gotten away from us. Like, you can't say anything to me, or I can't say anything to you without being offended.
Yeah.
Like, is there any truth to what you're saying? Like, that's where you start. Is there anything remotely true to what you're saying? Right. If there is, I'm gonna go ahead and give that a listen.
I guess that's why the Heat are so successful, is because the one voice is Jimmy Butler.
Yes.
And when you look at the Celtics roster, is it Jaylen Brown?
And
is it Jason Tatum?
If it works in
is it Al Horford?
If it works in the pro, he drives me bonkers. But I'm not gonna get on Al Horford today.
Hey, when we come back,
I want to be sensitive like Richard Jefferson.
I'll set up the show.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Now the Celtics with a red-hot Jason Tatum, who just became the Celtics' all-time leader in playoff three-pointers at age 25. Inbounds to Marcus Smart. Makes the handoff back to Tatum. Turns the corner, drives the paint, throws out to Al in the corner. Relocating, open, White, three. Got it! The Celtics have come back again to tie it.
Man, great passing. Look around. Kick the ball around. Different players. Don't take the first. Don't take the second. Take the best shot.
I always forget Tatum is 25 years old.
Oh, I know.
Like the ages of athletes always just go over my head.
You think he's older?
Yeah, just
he's been in the league 7 years.
Just because we're watching him on TV. Like in any case, any athlete, any sport, I'm like, how are you younger than me?
Yep.
And how,
I think Tatum's been there 7 and Brown's been there 8.
I remember covering that kid in high school.
Yeah, I know. I'm
and I'm sure you have plenty of those stories.
I don't even recognize. Well, sometimes I forget.
Right?
Yeah. So for me, it's a little bit of a blur. You know where I'm not good? Well, a lot of places, but I'm not good with like 12 through like 19. And it's only, 7 to 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the ages in there they kind of get away from me because I don't know if it was the transition of one and dones or what, or COVID, but I'm all sorts of screwed up on people's age.
Has he really been in the league for
7 years? Yeah. Brown got there a year before. Yeah. I think Jaylen Brown. Does Jaylen Brown seem like he's been in the league 8 years?
No. He seems like he's been in the league for 12.
It's like, I don't know where it went. Where have all the
Time
Cowboys
flies
gone?
when you're losing in the Eastern Conference Finals.
They'll mess around and win because we left them for dead. Oh,
yeah.
So you watch.
I
still can't believe. You actually went with the Celtics. So you should be fine because you asked me which was more likely to happen of the teams facing goose eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I think I'll go with the Celtics. I said, well, they're talented enough.
Right.
My dumb butt goes with the Stars because they're at home.
And they were only down 2-0 at the time.
Man, they looked atrocious.
Yeah, they're bad. As I said, man, frustrations are high for that team because they cannot score. They cannot play offense.
That's not good.
And even on the power play, not very good. We'll talk to Andy Kendeigh.
That's called inept.
Oh, is it? That is the proper word.
Yeah, they just
just page turn to I in the dictionary.
Futile.
We're talking to Andy Kendeigh at 8:30 today. 8:45, Steve Gardner. We'll talk a little Major League Baseball.
And my man Miller, Mr. Miller. It's Miller time.
M-I-L.
Hey, how hard were those guys? About 200.
How old is Miller?
Baseball.
20?
Yeah. About 203 miles between the two taking the bump last night combined.
Mm-hmm. That was a really good outing. And a really good confidence outing for Miller.
Yeah, because it's a fantastic lineup that he was seeing.
And he went 5 innings, only gave up 1.
Yep.
And you outpitched Strider. Goodness, good win for your boys.
They does it seem like they have 31 wins?
No.
So it's them, the Orioles, and obviously the Rays. Somebody has 30. I can't remember who. But I think there's only 4 teams. I should probably look that up.
Are the Braves still in 20, 29? Are they still at 29?
Let's take a look. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 the Rangers. Braves are at 29, and 5 the Dodgers with 30 or more wins.
And 2 of those teams, you'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the Rangers sitting at 30. But again, you know who we just can't get any distance? And they've won 4 in a row. Gosh darn Rattlers down in Arizona.
Spencer?
Freaking Snakes.
Yeah, they're good.
Oh,
a young team.
Oh,
good.
I
would lean more veteran when I think pitching staff, but outside of that, the rest of the 8 on the field, those guys are young.
I know it.
And talented.
Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan. Don't call me Ryan.
You didn't say Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody can do that.
Oh, not that guy?
Nobody, Bo. Nobody can do that.
Yeah. Is Merrill Kelly as good as we think he is? Maybe.
Fudge.
He's doing some good things.
Those guys, man, they just keep winning.
I'll take it.
No, I know. Corbin Carroll. Hey, my rookie of the year does have a chance, though.
It's flickering.
Yes, he does. Mine
does
playing, not anymore.
He's playing
as long as he stays down in AAA.
He's playing well.
The Cardinals just posted yesterday. It was Jordan Walker's birthday. Happy birthday to our top prospect in our system. And I go, you're not coming up anytime soon.
We got off to a good start. I mean, Major League, it's tough. It's tough out here, unless you're my guy Miller.
We'll play 2 for you at 9:30 as well, probably roughly around 9:30.
Hey, now we've been atrocious at that.
Yeah,
so.
and we took a week off.
We got to get. It has been bad.
No BC today. He's out golfing with the family.
Oh, good for him.
Where was he? Land something?
Cruiser.
That's not it.
Shark.
No, but that's a good beer.
Never had it.
Not as good as Zipline, but good beer.
Land Shark?
Mm-hmm.
Anything to do with
Baby
sharks?
Shark.
Doing too much.
Where are we going? Where are we going with this? Nebraska got a new transfer too, which leads me into another point I read yesterday on the counterpart of our friend Steve Gardner, an article with Matt Rule, an interview done, and what he feels is the team's biggest strength, which in turn kind of fits in with the new transfer. So we'll touch on that. But before we go anywhere else, let's go to the phone and talk to Scott. Shane, can you pot up Scott for us? Scott, good morning. You're on Coffee and Cream.
Hey, good morning, Andrew and Damon.
What's up?
Listening to the show, guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
My question for y'all was, now that Rule got that commit from Mizzou to decommit and come to Nebraska, I'm curious if you think that that's something we should be accustomed to seeing moving forward, or where you guys kind of rank that as a big move for Nebraska this offseason.
You talking about getting a local quarterback or
getting a decommit to then
commit. Flipping a guy?
Yeah.
Flipping a guy.
Okay. That's a fantastic question. Appreciate the call, Scott. I actually do. See, that kind of flew under the radar. How savvy
the flip was.
Yeah.
And quick.
Because now the more of the backstory, I heard Huffman's version, and you kind of heard Danny's version, kind of getting Nebraska's version of it. It's like just a savvy move.
I think it was a savvy move on Rule and on DK's part
to keep you on the hook, right? Keep communication flowing without overdoing it, knowing full well, hey, cool. You know what? Like, I get it, man. Drink's done a good job. You personalize the deal. You know, Mizzou, SEC, I get it.
Right.
Hey, we'll be here though. Just, hey, sit tight for a sec. And then the level of understanding that both people had.
Right.
Right. Because sometimes we assume in communication that the message was received both ways. Sometimes it's just people either talking or texting and nobody's really receiving the information that you want them to have. That's not communication. I think DK was taking it in, and Nebraska's staff was holding up their end of the deal. So it was kind of a two-way street. And that's important because I think sometimes we undersell. Like, if you just know what the end game is, sometimes we're afraid to say, we dance around it. And you know me, sometimes I just say, what's the end game? Like, what are we trying to accomplish? Because once you know that, it's the same thing I was saying with John Morant, right? Like, just ask the question. And so I think with Nebraska, this staff will be uber confident. They will continue to recruit guys that they want, even if they appear to be headed elsewhere or are headed elsewhere, because I think it's just, I mean, you kind of know, it's kind of his personality. Like, it's not over until signing day.
Correct.
Because he's just competitive, you know, and if you get sat, because he's kind of the guy that's not like the others, at least in my opinion. I keep a very close eye on Sat because he's not one of those guys that, at least right now, comes out as all in on talking guys into things. He's very straightforward. So he's not rubbing your back and, you know, patting you on the butt, right? Like, he's kind of a straight shooter. So I wonder how that will play in the long run. Like, will it endear himself to folks because they know right where he's coming from, or will they want a little more love? Because sometimes quarterbacks want a little love, and I just don't. I mean, I think kind of what you see is what you get there, and so they're going to have to recruit mature guys at that spot. Because I've said from day one, you have to be able to take tough love.
And I'm with you when you say, "Hey, it's not over until inks to paper." With Coach Rule.
That's how they'll be.
But there is something that I think won't be super common with that question. I'll get to it next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. DB, Andrew Rogers. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Wherever you catch us, 590 here in town. ESPN Radio. We're live on Twitter. We are live on YouTube. And that is what DB always recommends because you get to see his beautiful face.
It's not true.
You say that every break. Like, why don't people turn on YouTube so they can see my beautiful face?
I think just to make Sasha mad, I'm going to click off the camera.
I sit on a throne of lies.
I just clicked myself off.
I see that because I went full screen.
I don't think I want to be on camera anymore.
Going back to
is that childish?
Maybe a little bit. It's childish, but that's us.
How about them apples?
That is
exactly.
Going back to that question,
it's not like she can pay attention to the show right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
good call. Oh wait, no, she's probably on the road.
Yeah, while the cat's away, the mice will play. Exactly.
Is that what Tom and Jerry say?
I don't know. I tell you the story about how my mom used to get mad at that I'd watch Tom and Jerry after school.
Really?
Yes, she did not like the perception of the African American lady in the kitchen, and she would always go, "Thomas," and she'd have on like house shoes and a scarf. Yeah, I don't think you can do that now. What?
Can you do the impression again?
No.
Please?
I can't do stuff on demand.
Dang it.
That's yeah. They got away with a lot of stuff. It's Cam. Do you remember that? You're old enough. Yeah. You were not.
That ain't wet. That ain't wet, man. That ain't wet.
I'm glad I'm off camera. Shane, you're a child. It's all good though. By the way, Welvin is alive still.
Oh, good.
I check every 5-6 months.
Are you one of those people that
he drinks so much?
When at my old news station, we used to write down names of people on a whiteboard that we thought were next to die. Like, can you imagine being a part of a team like that?
Yeah.
Like, that was my news.
Kind of morbid.
Yeah.
But Welvin is still alive. You can hit him up on TikTok too. My man drinks.
Like Owitz or
drink? No.
Oh.
Back to Missouri reference. They won't. I don't think they'll stop. Oh, whoops. She can hear. I think we got to go back to be. I'm back on screen now.
You're back. I told you she's probably in the car right now.
I forgot. And it's a big blowtorch, so you can hear from far away. Dang it.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'll be better.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, going back to that point, though.
Now I'm not on screen.
I don't know if it'll be super common to see Rule flip guys like he did with DK unless they're in state. Does that make sense? So,
I haven't thought about it.
Say that again, Shane, because I think that's my answer too.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it.
So, unless
one more time, Shane, just keep cutting Andrew off.
Unless they are in state.
You in a good mood or what?
I am. I'm in a great mood today.
You in a good mood or
what?
what?
It is Wednesday.
All right, good.
All right, good.
All right, good. I gotta hold on to that one. It's gonna get in the back of my head.
Oh, I almost went into
You
character.
in a good mood or what?
I can.
I know. I was waiting.
Not today. Maybe later. Depends on what we get into. Maybe later. You in a good mood today or what?
You in a good mood or what?
All right, Coach.
All right, good.
Stop asking me.
All right, good.
It's a really good question.
I try to
Thank
do
you.
those. Anyway, what were you going to ask me?
Trying to think of a good answer for you.
I know. If we could get to in-state recruits, I would. Goodness. Shane.
I mean, it was gold. It was absolute gold.
Okay.
Shane?
Stop it.
Is it?
I didn't give you a great answer there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you didn't. You didn't give me a good answer at all.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not. I know
How
you're
is
not
he
sorry.
doing this?
I don't think so.
He's just got buttons loaded up.
But to have the responses queued up?
I think they just are. They fit in
Generic?
in every situation.
All right. What is your?
It wasn't really a question. It was just more of a.
Someone has a phone call here.
Oh, do we? I don't think so. Nothing's on the line.
Hello, Sasha? Yep, I'm back on camera. Goodbye.
Hello, Bill. Yes, you can fire Shane.
All right, guys.
Is that why Cam's shadowing this week?
Yeah.
So we can let Shane go.
I tell you, you better be careful about always training the new guy.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
Yeah, it
And
does.
sometimes you get sparks.
Over there. It does, and if there are sparks, we'll know we can play any on either side of the ball.
Stuck Dizzle, K Bizzle.
No, when it comes to in-state recruits and athletes like that who grew up here, love Nebraska for what they have been, what they are. If you, going back to your point, get them before they put pen to paper, it's easier to get a kid like that to flip if you really show them the buy-in, if you really make it incentivizing for them to go to Nebraska versus, hey, there's somebody committed to a school out of, say, like you're recruiting kids heavily in Kansas City. They're committed to Mizzou.
Mm-hmm.
It would be harder, I would think, to get them to buy into Nebraska after committing to Mizzou because they don't have that hometown tie.
I wonder how many kids, and I think the Metro may be different than outstate, maybe, like actually still love Nebraska that are in their teens.
I don't know if it'll ever go away for the kids growing up.
So Kalen was probably born in 05 or 04 or maybe 06. Not a lot. Those were not good years.
Right, but
he's not watching television at 1 or 2 years old either. So let's say he's 12.
Yeah, and you're watching
2012.
Bo Pelini.
That was not good. You were getting drubbed by Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game.
That you were.
That's a bunch of BS.
No, that happened. I'm pretty sure. I was there, actually. How about leaving that game early?
It wasn't pretty.
Oh, yeah. That's back like
whatever the hell it is.
I mean, you're fresh on the heels of going through some things. I was super volatile. Like, walked back to set up the post-game show, then fought on the post-game show.
You don't point the finger, you point the thumb.
Oh, yeah. It was heated. Maybish severe.
You talking to a ghost?
No. I felt like I was because he wouldn't listen. But anyway, show went till 3 a.m.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed.
Dude, I think Wisconsin had just scored again. Dude, I walked from Lucas Oil to where we were having the post-game show, which was, I don't know, it's probably less than a mile, maybe. Maybe it was a mile, but I walked. Yeah, steaming. Because, you know, you're not supposed to say anything in the press box, and I was not very mature. Like, are you kidding me? Tackle. It's jet sweep. But anyway, I don't know.
You're just a defensive coach. What do you know?
No, so and then I wasn't though. Like I liked offense. Right. Now I really, really, really like defense, which is gonna make this year fun because of guys like Danny, right? Like you got your work cut out.
Yeah. Now speaking of coaching,
yeah.
You ever go through Twitter and then all of a sudden you see something that or somebody you don't follow, and then it hits you with a point, and it's like the algorithm relates it to things that you like to see or look up or
I'm not that
in.
smart. Sometimes I just figure out if it's for you or following, because sometimes I have to
back and forth
to figure that out sometimes, right? Because sometimes I'm like, I don't even follow this person. Why is it on my timeline? But sometimes I'm on for you as opposed to following, so sometimes I'll click it back and forth.
So there was something that popped up that a guy had a thread going of realities of high school coaching, and I'm like,
Was it sports specific?
It was
football. Is it football?
I think it was. He's a basketball coach. I'm gonna guess basketball, but it's a general sense of things that come with just high school coaching.
Okay.
That I would venture to say have more to do with football and basketball than say track.
Okay. Hit me with your best shot.
So I'm going to read these off, and then I want you to guess what I think should go to the top of the list, because there's one on here that I don't believe should be placed where it is. Okay, so the first one was it will consume you.
High school sports?
High school sports will consume you. And he said it's because it's more than a job, it's a way of life.
Okay.
Right? Spending countless hours, planning practices, going to games.
As you know, there's some truth to that.
Right.
Okay.
Number 2, there will always be critics.
Okay.
And with that, no matter your success, people will always have something to complain about, whether it's, hey, my kid's not playing enough, or, hey, you're too hard on the kids, or whatever it is. You're not in it for the money.
Okay.
Number 3, does high school coaching pay well?
No.
Nope. But that's because you do it because you love to do it for the kids, right?
Although in the fall, you do kind of feel rich.
With when you win.
Like, one extra portion of your paycheck. You're like, oh. But it's peanuts, especially compared to the hours. But go ahead.
Right. There is no overnight success.
Okay.
That's number 4. Because building a successful team takes time, dedication, patience, ups and downs. But this is crazy because we talked about this off the rip. He writes, always remember that your number 1 job is to build culture. That's a part. No, that's a part of number 4.
Okay.
So that's just a part of it. Number 5, you need a supportive spouse.
1,000%.
Number 6,
that should probably be at the top.
You will not make everyone happy. You make tough decisions. People won't agree with you. It happens, but it's all for the benefit of the team.
Okay.
7, you can't want it more than the kids.
Now that needs to be towards the top.
And number 8, it's still worth it. And he puts worth in all caps, knowing that it's incredibly rewarding
And you think those are out of sequence?
So I think there's a couple that are out of sequence. We'll get to those next, but I'm going to let you guess first.
All right.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, welcome back to the show. 888-638-4876. If you'd like to get involved at any point, Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Hey, before we go any further, I want to take a moment and tell you about Zipline Brewing. Zipline is having their farewell tour for their OG tap room, and there's a week full of events, and you've missed 2 days already, so make sure you don't miss the rest. If you liked bingo, if you like Green Label IPA at Pint Night, then you are going to like the next set of events too. Zipline trivia tonight. You have cask tapping. Plus, bring in your favorite Zipline glass. Get a free refill. That is Thursday. Friday, final Friday with the Machete Archive, Universe Contest, and Ghost Like. Food from Motor Food, Pound and Nails Industrial Lager release as well. Saturday, Complicated Patterns release and Pint Night. This one says you're going to want this one so bad. So you better show up on Saturday. And then Sunday is their last day at the tap room. Go check out Zipline, show them some love. And you know what? If you don't feel like going, then feel like going for us because we're asking you to go show them some love. It's Zipline Brewing.
Bring my favorite
It's
glass.
exciting.
Could I bring my favorite Yeti?
Ooh, that is it is your favorite Yeti, and it's a Yeti of the show.
Oh, you threw me for a curveball today. I was gonna say it's yours too.
Mm-hmm. This one's a Tervis though.
But Timmy Tervis?
Timmy Turntrout.
The world is a Tervis.
I don't know, but I also, if this was in the dishwasher, I'm not sure what happened because this wasn't as like beat up before. The blue was solid. There weren't a lot of lines.
Looks like Miley got a hold of it. It looks like scratches.
It looks
Miley.
like it does, or a fork was just next to it and went loose and just decided to take over and scratch the heck out of this.
I thought those things couldn't go in the dishwasher.
How in that?
Pardon?
If it can't, it's been going in there.
You're supposed to hand wash those things, Drew Down.
See, I hand wash like my beer glasses, but I don't hand wash this.
That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because you don't want those labels to come off.
Oh,
so like the Cardinal label that's on there.
Yeah, see, you're doing too much.
I put the Dodgers one in the dishwasher though. Okay, go back to the list. Don't get me yet. Don't get me yet. Hold on to whatever you're holding on to. I gotta let me have at least another 30 minutes without taking heat.
I don't recognize what we're doing.
Okay, I gave you the list of 8.
I don't even recognize what we're doing.
What do you think should move up on this list? Being a coach yourself, and you've been coaching for how many years now?
20
years.
If you're married, I think supportive spouse needs to be way up the list.
I would say that's 1.
It's got to.
If you're married,
because
you can't do it. You can't mess up your family life.
And
if you ask Coach Rule, he would say
it's
that
hard.
Unless I have a supportive spouse, I can't be a college football coach.
It's hard. So I would say that needs to be near the top. I think building culture needs to be closer to the top.
So no overnight success.
Yeah, because that's the second part of that, right?
Yep, culture is a part of that.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at our guys, and I've had a few different stops. So, really strong but different culture at Omaha North. Omaha Northwest, we were trying to build it, and when you don't win any games,
it's hard to build culture.
But the culture there was more about how you had to behave and what we were trying to accomplish in the community. So the goals were different. At Burke, where I started, that culture was kind of what it's morphed into at Westside was effort and toughness. Now, effort and toughness has specific meanings, which, by the way, I got to show you this. I mean, this is just kind of how we're doing it around our parts, but we have what's called a cultural roadmap.
Oh, that's sweet.
Now, this is our creed. This is
bam.
This is what we live by. And you can't do anything unless you're taught it. So we'll take 2 or 3 days before we do anything and talk about why we have this cultural roadmap.
And every player got that?
Everyone. And it all means something.
E.T.,
Listen,
phone, home.
Effort. Whatever you do in life, do it with relentless effort. Effort is about going all out in every aspect of your life. So
more than just football.
We talk about common language, right? You're having a practice rep. So how's your effort? It's an autocorrect, right? Toughness. Living tough is an attitude, a way of life. Our desire for a mission accomplished is greater than our desire for personal comfort. Do you understand that, right? Like, it's like, and there are lots of little acronyms. They're on every T-shirt. It's on the walls. It is everywhere. So that's different, like, let's say, than when I was at North, where that culture was one of kind of no BCD, so no blaming, complaining, or deflecting. We just do, and toughness, right? So it's some similarities, but a little different. Like, and the key, the real difference so far is this one doesn't waver. Like, it doesn't. It's in place long enough where it's not just about like one person, you know, because at North it was kind of it's a Larry Martin thing. Like, it would be very interesting to see who could replace a guy like Coach Martin, because what he embodies and what he means to that community is very specific. It is unique to his greatness. I'm not like that. That will be a very interesting job when it becomes available. Here, it's you can't be a part of it unless you can get this first. So it's more about the sequential order,
right?
Right. It's like because it auto corrects, and when I first got there, I was like, this is not going to work because I don't know who does the disciplining. Well, the accountability is built in the culture. So I didn't know how much toughness you could really have because, you know, until we redefine what we wanted toughness to be. So I would definitely move the culture up. I would move the supportive spouse up.
Would you move that up to 1 and 2, or would
Culture's 1?
Culture is 1. So you would move there's no overnight success to 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Spouse would then be 2 for you.
Yep.
Okay.
Especially if you're a head coach or even a coordinator. Gosh, like we meet, and this is different for everybody, but right, there's Saturday morning, bring the kids in, work out, swim, we're running, stretching, whatever, meet for a little while as a staff up until however long, and then you're Zooming on Sunday. And you're going to do that for, we hope, 16 weeks.
Okay.
It's 4 months.
Yeah.
Right. So
a long time.
Yeah. Takes some understanding.
Okay. So you went success to spouse. I'd probably go spouse, success. And then there's one more I think should move up on that list.
Well, let me put it this way with the spouse. Your significant other better know that he or she married a coach. Like, don't spring that up on them. Because unless you know you're marrying a coach, it just can't. My reverence for Nancy Osborne was unbelievable because there's no way she could have ever seen her husband.
Ever.
And all he ever talked about was being a good person, like, being a good father and being a good husband. And I was just like, when is this guy at home? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, not much of a work-life balance.
So there has to be a level of understanding, right? What would you have moved up?
The last thing I would move up is you can't want it more than the kids.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of coaches in my day
for sure
that
good one
hold kids, athletes to a standard, and if they don't meet his standard or her standard, it is like you're doing sprints, you're conditioning, you're doing that. You're putting so much stress on a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, to where you make them start to hate the sport.
Yeah,
I got that a lot when I did select baseball. Now, that wasn't my coach, but I played on a majority of a multitude of teams, I should say, where there were times where I got gamed out because of losing the love of the game due to a coach not having the understanding of this is for me, not for him.
You know what I think all great teachers, which coaches would be in this, teachers and or coaches can do, and that's meet people right where they're at. If if you lack kind of the ability to do that, I think over time you're going to struggle. A byproduct of that could be what you're talking about. So I think you have to be able to meet people right where they're at.
And I'm not saying that like, oh, it's because I have a weak brain or a weak mind and I can't.
No, some people are just over the top,
right? But I can't mentally be there.
I watched
take criticism.
A youth game, and in Des Moines this weekend, it was our late game, and you could now this Mocan team is good organization, right? Mocan is fairly popular. This couple came in about a couple minutes late, so I don't know, and they both had on gear or whatever, and they were, relentless from the jump. And at one point during the timeout, I don't know, Micah's team had gone on like it was literally like a 14 or 16-0 run, and he came to the moms before he went to the bench. So they're across the court. The coach gets a timeout. He asks for a full. He walks diagonal
to the fans,
to the parents, right, and then goes to the bench towards the end of the timeout. And I just was thinking, it's awful early for that, but that's a you're grooming that person to not receive instruction well or get tired of hearing from you. Right? Like, that's not gonna work over time. But in the immediacy of the moment, parents, I think, will justify it because they think that's what's best for their kid. I'll never forget this. We were playing fifth grade basketball. And Alvin, you haven't met Alvin yet, but
not yet.
He's very, very demanding on effort and intensity. And we were in a huddle one time, and we had a new guy. He's actually playing at prep right now, and his grandpa is very involved. He's not. He doesn't want to supersede coaches, but he's very involved. And they were in a huddle, and the kids kept looking over, and he just yelled. He said, "Stop looking at your parents. They're not your coach. I'm your coach. If you want to play for them, go."
Wow.
Oh, loud as could be. Everybody heard it, right?
And like the message behind that.
Yep.
But
stop talking to your kid during the game.
Right. But
stop saying shoot it.
In that moment, everybody, it's like, all the air gets sucked out of the room and all eyes just turn to you, and it's just quiet.
So it's not just coaches can't want it more than the kids. The parents can't either.
That's a great point.
Because that you see that
it's demanding too.
You see that quite a bit.
It's demanding to be a son of a parent that expects a lot as well.
Yeah.
And demanding excellence is good. It's a good thing. But at the same time, I like to put supportive in front of a lot of things. Supportive effort. Like you're wanting them to do it. Like you want them to do it so badly the way that you're trying to teach them, but you're supporting them in the process. You can support and demand. You can support excellence. Like if you put support in front of everything, that's what a coach is supposed to do. You're supposed to support the player and get them, either out of their old way or into the culture that you are trying to build.
That's why I think teaching helps. Some people get into coaching and teaching is kind of like a necessary evil. Some teachers have evolved into coaches. Some say, I want to coach and teach because I want to be around young people. So you usually fall in one of those three spectrums. But I think the crazy thing, and Bovey kind of said it when he was talking about his dad yesterday. His dad's a coach. That has a different set of dynamics that come with it. And it's not for everybody. So when I see healthy, father-daughter, mother-daughter, mother-son, father-son, parent coaching relationships, I'm very appreciative because a lot of organizations now won't let parents coach. because that's what it's evolved into, right? So there is no, helping little Sarah,
right,
in volleyball, or Johnny with t-ball, or whatever, right?
If you're a parent, you're there to support. That's it,
right? And I just think, yesterday, I went through this stretch of kind of kicking myself for about 5 or 6 years when Caleb was younger as my oldest son, where I didn't force Nebraska on him. He's his own guy. Could I didn't talk about Nebraska much. Didn't have my Orange Bowl trophies in the closet, right? We don't go through articles and stuff like that. And then there was a stretch when he was about 11 or 10 through 12 maybe. He likes all these other teams, right? Remember, Oregon was first, and it's driving me crazy.
Did he like Oregon because of the flashiness of the jerseys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then I wanted those formative years back. I'm like, man, I probably should have taught him to be a bigger fan. But I was so interested in having him
be his own man
that I was a little more hands off. But yesterday, it was funny because we had we had the player meeting, and Jason and I come from the same school of thought on a lot of things when it comes to competing and being a good teammate and stuff like that, right? Like, we learn from the same place. And he had a unique journey too, because he went to prep. He didn't get good until his last year in prep school. He had one offer as a senior. He went to prep school to buy himself some time to catch up. And so we got ready to leave, and everybody's kind of schmoozing and high-fiving and hugging and stuff. And Caleb comes over to me and he goes, I hadn't even said a word yet, right? Because we drove separate. And he goes, yeah, I know. Well, you guys say a lot of the same things. It's not just you. Right? I thought to myself,
you didn't even say a word. Yep. Don't even say it. I know what you're thinking.
Then I was like, shoot, man, am I like, was I going to say that? Probably at some point, right? Whether it's a couple weeks down the road. Hey, remember when he said, like, that's where I got, or that's why I coached away. And so then I felt like, okay, it does sink in. Like, he does get it, but you have to be very, very wary, because I think he's known for a while that he's going to be better than me, right? And so the balance of not really knowing my history, like, other people tell him about me more than I tell him about me. So he just knows me as this guy that used to play, that, he makes those funny comments on Twitter and stuff like that. He doesn't really, he's like, you drafted in baseball? You know what I mean? Like, we don't talk about those kinds of things.
Right.
And maybe I need to do better, but I say all that to say, navigating that relationship is difficult. It's much more difficult than, like, let's say, father to daughter. It would be similar with when it's the same gender. There's always this thing about seeing yourself in them and through them that you have to balance. That doesn't come, I think, when with anything else, especially with firstborn boys. That's just.
Now, I'll say this though. I mean, credit to you for taking a unique approach with it.
I fight it.
Well, 99.9% of people in your shoes would have done the opposite.
I don't know.
Maybe that's too high of a percentage, but the people that I do know, like, would go through a scrapbook. They would sit down with their kid, go through that. I mean, they may not show off trophies and things like that, but they'd say, hey, this is what daddy used to do. This is, where he used to play. And this is the team that we watch. And,
if I'm being honest, he didn't really blossom in some areas that he had some deficiencies until I didn't coach him. If I'm really being honest, I think him playing with Alvin in those formative years in basketball, and then him going to Coach Terry, Tyson's dad, through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade because we have very different styles.
Right.
And I think, about once every 3 or 4 months, I'll text Ryan and I'll say, hey, man, just want to say thanks again. Because he's real supportive on social media and stuff because we needed a village. And sometimes it just takes, and I always tell this to parents, right? Like sometimes you got to do your homework, see who you trust to invest in your young person, and then let them do it. Don't watch. Take some time. Who's got a good MO of developing kids holistically? But then don't be half in, half out, right? Like,
right.
Then allow them to do it, right? I watched the whole year of him not playing any offense. None. Until the championship game. I think he, makes a play, right?
107-14, whatever it was.
And I'm like, do you know how? And a couple of my, a couple of my buddies were there because their kids were playing and stuff, and I remember being so mad all season, super mad about how he was being used on offense, but what he was gaining was toughness. They practiced on dirt, they always hit. He was kind of their dude on defense. He played middle linebacker, so I was like, okay. That's the trade-off. I guess you can figure out offense, later on. But I had to trust it in its entirety, and it was a miserable year as a parent. It was
because you had to keep your mouth shut. Well,
miserable year.
You bite your tongue. And you didn't have to.
And it's my buddy.
Right.
But and so, like, I think having been through that is like if you're choosing high schools, like, pay attention. If you're choosing developmental leagues or club teams, like pay attention, because I think there's a couple guys around the metro. Like, I wouldn't hesitate for them to have my kid. Like if Brian's coach wanted my kid,
you'd say I'll be there.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Right. Like, so
but there are other coaches out there that
I just use that. No. Yeah. Right. Because I just don't want that. So I think with that in young people, it's the same as I think it has to be at the collegiate level when you're recruiting players. I'm serious.
Yeah.
The guys that win, even at Bama, they get deprogrammed if you come in with different skill sets to do it the Bama way or the Georgia way. Like, it's not just about having good players. There's an art to it.
When you have a program with that type of success, you are able to say, hey, this is how we do it here, and if you don't want to be a part of it, I'll find somebody else that does.
But it's harder for accountability when you're your own measuring stick, because something has to keep you grounded.
Andy Kendeigh coming your way next. Stick around. More CNC after the break.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency DBAR. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Happy to have you with us. If you want to get involved, 888-638-4876 at any time. Just not during these next two segments, because we are backing it up with guests. In the on-deck circle, we have Steve Gardner, and coming up to the plate now, Andy Kendeigh, sports director at KETV, at Kendeigh, KETV on Twitter. Andy, AK, good morning. What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas?
Were you surprised yesterday, AK, that at the Schwabe
at Chucky,
that it was as as that it was as chalky as it was with the outcomes?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, what's this tournament all about? It's about a 5 seed winning it or a 7 seed making a run. And that's when Maryland started to play against Michigan State. I said, the better seeds won first 2 games. It never happens. And then you saw what happened with Maryland. They come in with the biggest bats in the league. And, offensively, they were challenged. And that's why you play this tournament. This is why it's such a cool event. And hopefully people show up at 2 o'clock, because I'm curious. Cause Randy and I were having a debate on what they're going to draw today at 2. So we'll see.
Andrew and I were talking about it, too. So – who's the higher or lower of the numbers, you or Bill?
Bill's the optimist.
So let me get.
And I did look online. Where tickets. They don't even sell tickets out in the outfield, so that's why the outfield's empty. So, Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah, so Bill thinks they're gonna draw big.
So big for him would be 8?
9 and above, maybe even 10. He said. And
Whoa!
I scoffed. I guffawed. I scoffed. I said, "Oh, are you kidding me? Bro? Come on, 2 o'clock."
So
people have to work, right?
So for a 2 o'clock tilt in ideal weather
on a Wednesday.
Would you guess?
I'm going to say you guess 4.
I guess 4 to 5. Yeah, 4 to 5.
Okay.
You know, the weather's perfect, right? So, you know, but here's the thing: if it's Wednesday at 7, I'd say, okay, yeah, I'll give you 9 to 10, sure. But it's Wednesday, 2 o'clock. You got to make arrangements. School's still in session for most kids.
Yep.
So, you know, if it hasn't had a whole lot of, you know, you got to get off work to go to, to go to this game. So I don't know if they drop, 4, 5, 6, that'd be good. I think solid crowd.
Although there is a big difference though, AK. 4 would be disappointing. 6 would be okay.
I'd say average.
That's what I would expect.
Like
I think
6,500.
Yeah. I think 4,000 would be disappointing.
Yeah, I would echo that, and you know, I will say
it's okay to be realist. It's okay to be a realist, though, AK.
And I'm saying, let's be honest, though, the conference, they can improve their pre-tournament marketing strategies. Let's just say it that way. Like before the tournament even began, we didn't even have the opportunity to talk to anybody. Like there was no formal, hey, the tournament's happening. Hey, Omaha, here's the coaches. You know, here's the home. You know, the home team did a news conference or a little media session in Lincoln. 50 miles away, at 9:30, the day the tournament opened. That was your pre-tournament setup. So, not to say that we sprinkle magic, that we, meaning media, sprinkle magic dust, and you guys, and all of a sudden, if we talk about it, people are going to show. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of people, even in our newsroom yesterday, said, "Oh, this is going on today? Oh, it started today?" It's like, yeah, it started today. And
right.
And these are sports fans. These aren't like, the fans that just jump on the bandwagon. These are sports fans. They're, oh yeah, that's right. That does start today. But Nebraska doesn't play today. That it didn't help that Nebraska is playing on day 2. In an ideal world, they would have figured out a way to maybe have Nebraska play that 7 p.m. tilt or 6 p.m. tilt last night.
On top of that, though, it's always like, oh yeah, I forgot they're at the Chuck, right?
Yeah,
I forgot they're just right down the road.
Right. It's not, and we've seen it before. You guys, when Iowa made that run a couple of years ago, people show up for this thing, and this thing can gain momentum. I thought Iowa winning yesterday. Iowa had a very respectable crowd for a 10 a.m. game on Tuesday.
They did, and they broke that thing wide open in a hurry too.
Absolutely, and I think Iowa is, if you got to say who do you use, I think Iowa's going to win this thing. That's my pick, but.
Based on how they mashed yesterday.
They'll have to get back around to the top of their rotation because they're good there. I worry about their depth.
Sure. And that's really the key to any team, right? Once you get past their first 1-2 guys, how are you going to manage games 3 and 4 and get to the final?
I think only going 5 yesterday will help. I think 5 and a 5 and a third.
Yeah. They've got a couple guys that can sling it, and obviously they can mash it. So, and I do think the X factor for Iowa is that they do travel, and you can. It does make a difference when a crowd gets behind you in that place, and we'll see that probably this afternoon with Nebraska, because everybody knows that they got to win this thing to get in.
Yeah, tomorrow at 7 if they win.
Yeah.
That's the ideal time.
That's the game.
And it's Maryland.
You're playing the 1 seed.
Night game at home could be raucous.
Watch out for Indiana too. Good defense.
See, that's my
really good defense.
That's the team that I think could get Maryland. As Indiana.
Indiana is hot right now. They played some good ball. So getting back to the tournament at large, I was flipping around and ESPN does the SEC network does a nice job with that tournament. It's just interesting to see the different tournaments and how they're presented on TV. But But it is interesting. You can't help showing empty seats because that place is so big, right? And I understand why they play it there, but man, every shot and you're seeing sections that are empty. It's just it's interesting.
What you won't see empty is a lot of Friday night seats with the in-state talent in the fall. Kalen News will be huge. He's a hometown kid going to the state school, at least as of right now. How busy are your Friday nights going to be? You got 9 guys in state with offers. You want to share the wealth. Are you stressing it?
Yeah.
Well, you can get a couple in one game in 1 week sometimes, but I mean, man, AK.
It's a good problem to have, and I take it one day at a time. So I've got to see.
Okay.
I don't think Belt West and West Side are not on the reg because it's a 2-year cycle, so they don't meet in the regular season, do they?
No, we do. We're week 3.
One time.
Oh, you're week 3. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so we're on the second. We're on the second of the 2-year. So we go to their place.
Okay, well, we can make the monster matchup in week 3. Bellevue West versus West Side.
Yes, there may be a few fellas in that one, but I keep telling our guys, and Coach Lamanji echoed it last night. Don't forget, we open with our greatest rival, and that would be Prep. Like everybody's fast forwarding to that week 3 matchup, but
not you guys.
And there's a lot. I mean, you're gonna have to get over to Central. You're gonna have to get over to. I mean, you're gonna have to get to North there. Elkhorn South, Millard South, like this is a good Millard North. This is a good crop.
No question, and it could be. You can make the argument, and I think we will because we have all summer to talk about this. But this is about as good and deep as a class in terms of D1 guys as we've had in quite some time.
That I can remember doing this.
And that's saying something, because and I don't know. This is the debate. Is it because the talent has evolved and is better, or is that just people are realizing, hey, kids can play in Nebraska? I think that's a discussion.
So I think it's the first, because I think the 8th or 9th guy to get offered is closer to the top than the 8th or 9th guy from, let's say, 11 or 12 years ago.
Okay, I'll get that. I buy that.
You know what I mean? Like Ashton Murphy was the last to get an offer of those big guys, and he's really, really good. Like, I mean,
I buy that. And how about the 20 guy, like who's ranked in the top 25 in next year's the 2024 kids? I mean, those kids are so much better than I agree with you, DB. And I looked at your schedule, by the way. You got Creighton Prep and Grand Island at home. Nice 1-2 punch to start your season before you go to Bellevue.
Oh, I know.
And by the way, Millard North is up next.
We only had 4 home games last year. We're looking forward to the friendly confines of Phelps Field with the greatest intro in sports. Ooh.
Yeah, 3 of the first 4 at home.
Is it debatable? I don't know.
We'll see you out there later on today, AK.
Lights dim down.
No
you
problem.
hear the little chimes. AK, thanks so much, man.
Warriors.
Come out to play. Yay. Steve Gardner next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Goldschmidt swings, and it's a high fly ball. Left center field. This is back to the wall, and it is gone. Paul Goldschmidt with his 8th home run of the year.
Turns, kicks, and fires, and Hayward hammers one deep to right field. Acuna doesn't even move as this ball is gone. A home run for Jason Hayward on the first pitch of the second inning. It's 2-1 Dodgers.
Hey, nobody else could see it, but when DB heard the Paul Goldschmidt clip, he just started shaking his head right away. And then he gets his Dodgers clip.
Does he not know that it was Miller time?
No, that's only up in Brew Country.
Yeah, whatever.
The Brew Crew.
With our decimated staff, we needed it. Much needed performance. Let's go.
Like I said, fantastic performance by the young rook. Let's go to the phone and continue talking Major League Baseball with Steve Gardner. Steve, baseball writer and reporter and senior fantasy editor for USA Today Sports, at Steve A. Gardner on Twitter. Steve, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm better after Miller's performance last night. I'm a diehard, unapologetic Dodger fan, and our staff is decimated. Their depth keeps getting tested, Steve, but you look up and they've got 31 wins, and you got to be okay with that considering the injuries, and they're only 1 of 5 with the 30 win mark, right?
Absolutely. And you know, the challenge from the San Diego Padres has not been as scary as a lot of people thought. It's that experience, the calm hand in the dugout. I give Dave Roberts a lot of credit, and I think this has been a successful team for a long time for a lot of those reasons.
Steve, what's more shocking to you out of the second place teams. And I want you to look at this just from last year going into this year versus to kind of what's taking place record-wise, because I know one of these teams would probably swing your judgment. But I'm going to ask you, who's more surprising to be in second place right now? The Detroit Tigers, the Pittsburgh Pirates, or the Arizona Diamondbacks?
Good one.
Well, I'll say the Diamondbacks are the least surprising because they have a fantastic nucleus of young talent there that's going to take them places. I think the most surprising is the Detroit Tigers, not because they're good, but because the division is so bad. I mean, the Tigers are 4 games under 500 in the AL Central and still in second place, 2.5 games behind the division leading Twins. So, I mean, they haven't played that well, obviously. They're getting outscored by 51 runs, while the Pirates, on the other hand, actually have a positive run differential and are above 500. So I'd say the Pirates are probably the most pleasant surprise, and they started off so hot, kind of come back to earth a little bit. But they're making some inroads, and I think maybe they're a little bit further ahead of the rebuild curve than I think a lot of people gave him credit for at the beginning of the season.
I think a lot of that, Steve, is because last year was so bad, and I think that was the year that people thought that Detroit may start to trend upward.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I mean, you sign Javier Baez, and you have several talented young players that have gotten some hype as prospects. And Spencer Torkelson went #1 overall in the draft a couple years ago. Riley Green looks kind of promising. So those guys were kind of on the radar, whereas, Pittsburgh and the Jack Sawinskis of the world, and they didn't, they signed veteran players, like Carlos Santana in the offseason, and didn't look like they were going anywhere, just kind of treading water until they could trade those guys off. But yet they're playing some pretty decent baseball. And Mitch Keller is another guy. Yeah. Put that name in your memory banks. He throws really hard and hasn't really been able to control it throughout his early career, but he was a very highly regarded prospect, and it looks like he's starting to develop into that, almost, shall we say, ace caliber pitcher that a lot of those folks in Pittsburgh thought he always could be.
Let me ask you something, because you mentioned Dave Roberts, and he drives me crazy, and you know how he is with the Dodger fan base, right? It's so you take that with a grain of salt, but when it comes to guys, and I'll give you opposite case studies, Bob Melvin, slow start, but when he was with the A's, right, manager of the year, when he was hired last year, I was like, oh my goodness, the Dodgers fan in me is terrified because I think he's really, really good. Conversely, a guy like Torey Lovullo, who everybody was high on a couple of years ago, kind of had the D-backs fan base last year. Now he's back being that guy again. When you look at managerial impacts, over or underrated?
I think it's hugely overrated. You're only as good. You're only as good as the players you can put out on the field. And I look at some of the numbers in terms of fans love to complain about where players are hitting in the lineup, and decisions like that. When really you could put your worst hitter as a leadoff hitter, and it may change your projected amount of runs scored by like 0.3 or something. I mean, it's not real. It's the players who matter most. And when you can't figure out which players you want to criticize, it's so much easier to just blame the manager. And I think they get so much more blame than they deserve, and a lot of times not enough credit.
Steve, who will get to 50 first? Tampa Bay in the win column or Oakland in the loss column?
I think it's a cinch that it's Oakland. I mean, this is one of the worst teams I have seen in watching baseball. And part of it is the players' talent level on the field. And I feel for manager Mark Kotsay, too, who gets thrown into his first managerial job. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, manage this. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that team, I mean, there's apathy from the fans. There's apathy from ownership. I can't imagine how hard it is to come to the ballpark every day, do your job, and try and be competitive when all of those negative things and negative energy is surrounding that team, they could be on pace or eventually end up beating the Mets record, the modern record for most losses in a season.
They don't have household names, Austin Hayes and Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells.
Those aren't household names.
But listen, so the Orioles, they were a great. Oh, it was such a feel-good story last year, and here they come, and here they right back this year. This was not a fluke. It's a good young baseball team. Some of the experts knew it, but did you see it this year this quickly in the vaunted AL East?
I think that's the key. The division just overshadows how good this young Orioles team is, because it's so easy to say, oh, look at what the Yankees have, and look at Toronto with Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. and all that talent there. And this Orioles club just kind of sneaks up on you. And I think last year the bullpen was so really, really good that maybe they won a lot more games, those close games that they hadn't been winning in the past. And, Felix Bautista is still there and is still, I think, the preeminent closer in the game right now at this very moment. And the talent that they have, and it all, I think, comes back around and centers around Adley Rutschman, the catcher, who has been so good. And I think it's no coincidence that the Orioles got so much better when they promoted him to the major league roster last year. It seemed like a complete turnaround, and he can affect the game offensively. I love the way that he calls pitches and he works with the pitchers. You can see from his body language, this is not something that an analytically driven analyst would say, but his body language and the way that he enjoys, that one-on-one communication with the pitcher, I think pays off and makes everybody better. And the Orioles certainly have gotten off to a great start and show no signs of letting up.
Steve, I had I guess I threw this out to DB at the start of May, and I don't know if it was because I am just a diehard fan or if it was because I was overly frustrated with how the month of April went for the St. Louis Cardinals. But I said, if they aren't 500 by the month of June, there's a real problem. And DB kind of looked at me all crazy and thought, there's no way they're going to get to 500 because they have to literally win like 22 of
Well, they had to go plus 11
exactly,
in the month of May.
So it was low. The chances were low. But now they are actually, if they went out here, if they win 7 games, they would be 1 game over 500. And they have 2 games against the Reds, 3 against Cleveland. Now 1's against Bieber there, and then 2 games against the Royals. Do you think it's possible for the Cardinals to win 7 straight and be above 500 come the month of June?
7 straight, no. But 6 out of 7, maybe. I mean, they've already won. What's their streak now? 12 out of 16,
something
I
like
think
that.
They've won, and are playing so much better. The whole Wilson Contreras behind the plate and then taking him away for a week, and all of a sudden the Cardinal pitchers pitch better with him there. That was just mind-boggling to me, the whole thing. But it's one of those things. Baseball is such a long season, and even good teams are going to have really bad skids. And the Cardinals were in a pretty bad one in the month of April and have been able to turn it around this month. And obviously that division is eminently winnable because the Brewers and Pirates aren't setting the world on fire.
We're up against it 30 seconds. I've got them in the playoffs and people laughed at me. Now the Astros may run them down. You all in on the Rangers?
They have impressed me probably more than any other team this season with their pitching. They're hitting the best offense in baseball. Yep. Did anybody see that coming? Really impressive. I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Let's go.
Steve, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Take care.
If anybody saw it, DB saw it. In the playoffs.
We'll see.
We'll be back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, welcome back to the show. 888-638-4876 if you'd like to get involved in any point. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio powered by Currency. Look, we were talking a lot about college baseball with Andy Kendeigh, and remember, what's coming up in just a couple of weeks? It's the College World Series, and there's a kickoff party that's being thrown at Omaha Design Center, and you should be there. It's the opening day celebration pre-party with a live DJ and yard games. It's just 2 blocks from the stadium, and look, they have classic game day food and drinks, a fully stocked bar, you have AC, you have private bathrooms. It's the place to be. Reserve your kickoff party tickets for $20 a person at omahaeventgroup.ticketleap.com. You can also have a private party there for your corporate company during the CWS, and you can contact Beth Rayer, Beth at omahaeventgroup.com. Friday, June 16th is when this event will take place.
The power of advertising. Do you know what call I just got yesterday? Was for our folks at Dyer.Law.
No way.
As God is my witness. I won't put him out there, but he has called the show before.
You know,
he was involved in a personal injury accident and is looking for some professionals. And I'm surprised too, because he's kind of hard-headed. Like we get along, but we kind of go back and forth sometimes about some issues. And but he's listening. But I think with him, he likes being right. So it's about being successful.
Yeah.
Go with the successful folks.
Right.
I almost said his name. Go with Dyer Law. He's like, who should I ask for? And I was like, such and such and such and such, and make sure you tell him that I sent you.
Right. And then, if you get $3 million in damages like they just won for their previous client, you can give me a high five.
You got it. Whoa. Hey, he should break me off like lunch, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Give me a little $15 lunch.
Hey, why not? You can afford it now, right?
Exactly. Even after Uncle Sam.
Yeah. I always thought about that when if I won the lottery. Like, you drive by the big billboards of the Mega Million and the Powerball, and I just think, man, wouldn't that be nice? And it doesn't have to be like the $999 million that you see sometimes, and everyone's buying 500 tickets just to try to win. But I'm like, you see 40 million on the board. Even if Uncle Sam takes, his
half
30% or half, if really what it is, if I had $20 million, like the good I could do with that.
Oh, believe me.
Like helping out not only like my family, some of my friends, the community.
Would
the
Barry
church.
take any help?
He wouldn't.
I don't think so.
But I would gift him things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So like my dad has a lake house. And if he needed a new boat, it'd be like, all right, this is easy.
Oh my
right?
gosh,
get him a
man!
boat.
You talk about first world problems.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Gonna need a bigger boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there's any fish that big in the lake.
Need a bigger boat. Hey, yo, B. No, I would laugh if you called him that.
Yeah.
He'd be like, wait, who?
He'd be like, you're a millionaire now. You can just call me nicknames, huh?
I am your father.
He would be like, it's
Dad,
Dad
I'd like to get you a new boat. I was making fun of Coach. He was selling his lake house in Charlotte, and I was like, man, must be rough. But then he explained that he needed a place for his parents, and so I felt bad.
Does he have 3 lakes now in Waverly?
Is that where he lives?
I don't know. I just named a town.
Hey, out there in Beatrice.
Hey, maybe he's in Norris.
Yeah. Hickman is booming. Do they have horses in Hickman? I imagine there would have to be some place where you could have horses.
Probably. I was just thinking more of the pond reference from our good friend
in
Colorado.
Do you think he fishes?
Does Deion Sanders fish?
Dude,
or does he just
all
like
his
ponds?
IG videos? Do you think he's really catching? I want the video to start like at the beginning, not where you have the gosh darn fish or dern, as he'd say. Dern. You ever heard Prime say dern?
No.
Yeah, he says dern. Dern. It's always dern.
Dern it.
Dern. These darn people out here. Like, okay. But anyway, yeah, so he's got the front leg.
Okay.
The front leg, the back. Well, it has to be intentional, right? Like, it's not said like that. It's not.
Yeah.
What's the actress's name? Is it Lindsay Dern? Laura Dern?
Laura Dern. I love how Cam off my.
Now, he's really good at stuff like that.
Don't play trivia against him on Friday.
This dude is a think tank. Cam, that's good looking out. You save me a lot of embarrassment on social media because I screw up people's names sometimes because they all look alike.
So I'm here for DB.
Appreciate you, my man.
We all screw up names. It's not just you.
So what are you expecting a doozy with South Carolina and LSU? Because I think they get going first.
Mm-hmm.
And they're early.
Yeah, the SEC is going to be an interesting tournament,
right?
Because you have Arkansas, who looks as good as any team.
South Carolina's limping.
Yeah,
Florida's starting to get it going.
The weird wonders of Alabama still.
Yeah.
You have LSU, who is trending down and not up. Yeah.
Did Bama just beat Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, they just beat Kentucky. So I'm not going to say it, but everybody will tell you that it just means more in the SEC. I don't know about
what
that.
about Tennessee even? Like they went from, hey, we are the best
they got
team
off
in
to the
baseball,
crappy start. Then
right?
they hit the good stretch. They can't win on the road though.
Yep, and then they come into this year and it's like, we lost some pitching. But they still have a ton of really good, solid starting pitching.
Yeah.
In fact, they may have come into this season with the best starting rotation.
And then, like, it has to play out. There's been some horses lost in college baseball with arm injuries on the bump, but one team that has managed to stay healthy is Wake. So, and Florida's getting healthy. Vandy intrigues me, but I'm still not sure who they are.
They always,
especially as of
me.
late.
Mm-hmm.
So
because they don't have a rocker. They don't have a
rocker. I remember on a broadcast doing one of his games for the CWS, and the divot that he was making on his stride, his landing spot.
Yeah, it became a lip.
I felt like I could have laid in between it from the rubber to where the divot was. It was huge. And I'm like,
is he still pitching in independent baseball?
You know what? I'm not sure.
I feel like he went to the Frontier League because he had all those injury issues. He got drafted by the Mets.
I do.
I do. I want to say he ended up in the Frontier. Who's the guy? And his name's Jack. Who ended up at Texas? What's his last name?
Jack.
Yeah, the pitcher from Vandy.
Oh,
number 2 overall. Dad played. Somebody help me out on the stream if we can't figure it out.
I almost said Scott, but that's not what I'm looking for. I was thinking Mike Scott, but it's not. I
could also look it up.
No, I need to see if I can get this.
I got it. Okay. Yeah, I saw the last.
And who am I missing?
The initial L.
Lighter.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Man,
we knew who he was. We could describe everything about him. Couldn't think of Lighter.
That's all right.
But they don't have pitching like that at Vandy right now.
I know. And so we'll miss a little bit of that today. But for Nebraska, I still think we should try to sneak over there at some point.
Do you think we could manage today with what we have going on after the show? Because they start at what, 2?
It's gonna be behind.
So play it by ear type of thing.
So what time was the 2:00 game yesterday? Like 2:28, 2:27?
I don't remember.
It was something like that.
It was Indy that game, or was it?
Yeah,
Maryland?
it was Indy, Illinois. And to even buy us some more time, remember, Michigan, Iowa was a run rule, and it's because I was just leaving to go get Zoe when opening pitch was starting.
Yep.
So it was close to 2:30.
That would make sense because
how were you off schedule with a 10:00 start in a run rule game though?
Innings were long, a lot of scoring.
So I think the first inning was 27 minutes.
Right.
Not that I was
How
counting.
much time do you have to give after a game? Is it 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you guess the game is
didn't you
3
build
hours,
in the extra hour with the start times?
Most baseball games last about 2:45, 3.
No, college is probably a little longer.
Okay, so if it's 3:15, then if you start at 10:30,
10 to 11, 11 to 1,
that would be
1 to 2,
1:45.
You think
so
you give yourself enough time, but anyway, so maybe it'll get pushed back,
which could help.
Yeah,
I'll still have to hit the record button.
Oh, I know.
Just in case I miss a few innings.
They're in my library.
Oh, automatic?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Well, just go to the
yeah, I know what you're saying.
The home and then the library and click on the college baseball icon. I did it with wrestling early and it saved my bacon because I was having a hard time getting the wrestling schedule down, and softball's in my library.
Oh, nice.
Dude, I kind of like it.
People sleep on softball. Even my friends in
I
college,
hate the chance, but I love watching it.
In college, everybody would be like, "Oh, I'm not going to the softball game." Like, "Oh, I'm not going to watch softball." I'm softball's exciting.
It's sweet. We started.
It's because it's so close. Everything is so close and condensed.
Packed. Oklahoma Tyler and I started watching. Our kids were still playing together, so this had to be 6th grade, maybe. So probably 5-6 years ago. And I can't remember where we were, maybe in Des Moines somewhere or Ankeny, and we were killing time, and we just were watching. He's a big OU guy, and he likes all their sports. So he follows golf, he's baseball, he's basketball. It's like, he's in on OU, and so we were just watching OU softball. And I've never looked back.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I told you about the young ladies that I had hired from Omaha and Creighton to run our camp.
Yes, you did.
And I used to train softball players for probably 5 or 6 years out in Council Bluffs with my man Jared Harden. So, I'm partial, and it's brutal because I've tried to hit before, and it's no bueno.
Now, going back to the Big Ten, And AK said this, and I'm kind of curious if you think the same, because I haven't been.
You got that furrowed brow. This is
right.
great.
It's my thinking brow.
It's like, what's going on in that medulla oblongata?
I haven't been around Big Ten baseball enough, and maybe it's a Big Ten problem, Big Ten baseball enough to really know. But he had mentioned something along the lines of they don't do a very good job of promoting it. Is that an all around thing?
Yes. That's
a problem that needs to be fixed and fixed quickly, especially with the direction football's heading right now.
No, I get it, and I think.
But why is it a problem?
We kind of had this conversation a lot.
Is it people that are in the office that just don't do their job?
So I think it's the chicken or the egg thing, right? Some people want us to talk about topics. Well, when are you going to talk about it? And I'm like, well, we can. I'm just not sure if we'll be talking to more than 10 people. And sometimes we do that anyway, just because it comes up when we're pinging around. Mm-hmm. So, the Big Ten, they do have, what's the word I'm looking for? Cam, what is it when something is like secondary? Like it's not your main auxiliary. I was going to say it's not your main gym, but it's the auxiliary.
Thanks,
gym.
Cam.
Yeah, appreciate you. Well, let's not bury the lead. Why didn't you tell me to stop asking Cam things like you told me to stop asking Shane? What, am I not over here? Why are you asking Shane? That's what you told me last week. Is it because Cam's bigger than you?
I did say that.
So they do have kind of an auxiliary setup, and they're covering it on the Big Ten network. So that's good, but I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg, because we've talked about this since Nebraska's been in baseball or in the Big Ten. We thought that Nebraska would raise the baseball profile, but in the same vein, some of the bigger market schools like Ohio State have kind of dropped off. Now there's been Michigan as of late, but the ballparks don't draw well, right? I think Iowa's okay, not a big ballpark. Indiana draws, Nebraska draws.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would assume Michigan does, but I don't.
I'd guess.
Because they're
good team, and especially as of late when they made their CWS run.
So, do you have to be good first, or do you have to promote it so they know that you're interested?
But I feel like the Big Ten has been good and has been represented.
It's been okay. I get the Michigan thing. I do.
Is one team good, though? Like, is one team count as good? Like, I know the SEC pumps out, 3-4 teams.
Maryland is way good.
Right.
Who talks about Maryland nationally?
Mm-hmm. Hardly anyone. Unless we bring it up to say one of our guys.
And I don't know what happens in in the D.C. area, but I'm pretty sure it would be the Nats or the Orioles.
Right.
Right? So, which comes first? Is it the prowess in the conference, or is it, hey, make it available to us? Or do we say as the fan base, we need,
Well, so Maryland's one of those teams that is kind of stuck in the middle, right? You're not a Wofford, but you're also not
By the way, I jinxed them.
Right. It's all right, though. Or Campbell. Because we talked about those teams. Yeah. They were in the top 25. Maryland's been in the top 25 majority of the year, but they're not pulled into that because they're not a sleeper team. They're not Dallas Baptist. They're Maryland, but they're also not Florida. They're not Vanderbilt.
Okay.
They're not LSU. So I feel like they kind of just get caught in the middle. And unfortunately, because, to your point, the Big Ten isn't very strong.
But it's a good conference, though.
Yeah, it's a great conference, but it's not represented well in college baseball in the top 25. That's why I think the Big Ten continues to get buried, but they need to build off of their own success. When Maryland is playing well, you need to promote the heck out of that. When you have teams like Indiana that I think they've managed to get into the top 25 at least once this year, take advantage of those opportunities, because you have the good teams. You have the Michigans that made runs. You had the Minnesota that made a run before.
Right, so let me ask you something when it comes to, and I'll compare this to a couple of Olympic sports. Does the Big Ten promote volleyball and wrestling because of their prowess?
Or because of the following?
Yeah. Because
I would say they promote it because of the following. But
they just happen to be two of the following. Well,
leads to good following, I should say.
But they are the premier conference in their sport.
Mm-hmm. That
Big
is also
Ten is
true.
the best wrestling conference,
That is also
and the
true.
Big Ten is the best volleyball conference.
I'm with you.
So I guess I say that to say, so does baseball have to get good,
okay,
or do we have to be in? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. Yeah. Because even with football, you would probably rest in the SEC as being hey, they are the best.
You know, what we ought to do is the viewing numbers, because I think we sleep on the eyeballs in the Big Ten, and some of it just may have to do with the sheer volume. There are more people have moved out of the Rust Belt and gone to the Southeast, so it's more heavily populated. I don't know if it necessarily means more, because the Big Ten gets, look at a game with Ohio State or Michigan or Penn State in it. It draws.
Yeah.
Nebraska draws eyeballs. So maybe it's just volume. Because I hate saying it because it's become catchy. Oh, it just means more. And maybe it does. But it also has to do with something because they're good.
Yeah.
Just imagine Nebraska's baseball fan base if Nebraska was top 20.
They would,
because they already have big. They already
Yeah.
have big numbers. They would just be more
attentive
or present.
Okay,
right. It's easy to
Same
get out in
difference.
front when your team's good, even though you may have always been there. Because I'm not even talking about front runners. I'm talking about it's a big fan base. I just don't know if they have much to be big about.
Yeah.
So they kind of just do their thing as it comes.
That's interesting. That's a cool way to look at it.
You know, so I don't know. Like, is it because it just
what is it, right? Yeah, is it
because this is the perfect example when we talk about volume, SEC eyeballs versus Big Ten. Wrestling is about as niche a niche sport as it gets, but the Big Ten invests an awful lot in viewership and putting it on television. Is it because it's so good?
Right. And I would also say the carryover effect to that is the buy-in for wrestling in the region, because you have so many people below you that also buy in, which is why the sport is so huge in the Big Ten. It's because this area, not just Nebraska, but Iowa, but Minnesota, but places like that, buy into wrestling. So that's where you get your numbers too.
Yeah. So I almost think I have to give it some more thought. This is on the fly. I almost think they need to be closer to the top first.
And
because
that's a fair point.
Because their fan bases are supportive regardless.
In the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe
And it all starts with being good, right? All good things start with being good. You win games, you produce, you'll get people. You'll get people that want to support you because everybody loves a winning team. Everybody. It's hard to root for a losing team unless it has been your baby from the beginning.
Well, people do it with Nebraska. Right? And I guess that fits it because that has been your team. That's your baby.
Right.
Yeah.
It is weird, though, that the Big Ten is falling in the promoting category when it comes to sports.
Yeah,
like
because
baseball.
they have the dollars to do it, right? To get more than 2 billboards.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're playing at one of the most iconic venues in all of college baseball. The most iconic venue. I'm not even going to say one of.
They do play the big college baseball tournament down the street, right? I don't know. I don't know what it. I don't know what it is.
What it is or what it'll take to change.
But how many people do you think were like AK at the studio that weren't aware that it was starting yesterday? See, that's a promotions problem.
Yeah, but also what I'm saying too is social media wise, where was the bracket? Like, did it just get buried in a boatload of other posts? Like, why aren't you saying like, hey, here's tickets, here's how you buy? Like, send stuff out weeks in advance.
Yeah, I could see that.
You could play so many things off of Charles Schwab. You could be, who's going to represent the Big Ten?
Because I guess you would be saying
if they got here,
Maryland's fan base is still Maryland's fan base. It's because Maryland's already good. Like, I think Nebraska's fan base is Nebraska's fan base. If let's say you're like Coach Bolton, he says, listen, if we swap 5 of those games and we're 36-15, they don't have 600 more fans. I think their fans are their fans.
Yeah.
Right.
But you'd have more eyeballs watching on TV in town. I mean, especially with the event being in town, if you aren't a Nebraska fan, or even if you're just a baseball fan, because we see so many people just show up to the College World Series because it's the College World Series. Mm-hmm. So you get a conference tournament event. I remember in St. Louis going to the SEC championship games. Like, yes, I know Mizzou was there, but this was when I was back in college. I didn't go to an SEC school. I just went because it was cool. Like, I could be there. Mm-hmm. I could be there all day and watch the sport. Basketball is, of course, more high-paced. It's faster games. Like, there's more runs. I get it. But in baseball,
bigger college audience,
right? But in baseball, just the fact of it being here is something that would draw me to the stadium when it's warm outside, when I can bring the family, when tickets are only $5, $10. I don't know how much they're charging to get in, but I can't imagine they're charging you more than $15, $20 a ticket to sit and watch baseball
on StubHub. Right now, like, let's actually go to Big Ten baseball tickets on SeatGeek. Since nobody's paying us, we can use arbitrary numbers. Anywhere from 16 to 29.
Yeah. That's a very, very reasonable price to go watch conference tournament baseball.
Especially when you go to a movie and it's not on a Tuesday. You're paying
that price.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of what you want to do. And I think you can appeal to a lot of fans in this area because it's at Charles Schwab.
I feel like it has more to do with exposure than actually being good, though. My gut. I don't know.
Well, let's sit on it. We can kind of see how it plays out, and we'll touch on the point again later on in the week.
Yeah.
2 for you next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Now, one of Damon's favorite games and one of Shane's favorite games.
Is this the game where I have to write stuff down?
Well, maybe not so much Shane.
Yes, Shane. This would be the game.
Yes, it's 2 for you.
All right, let's do it.
Wow.
Am I pulling a good Shane over here, DB? Like,
yeah, that's exactly how.
Shane is up at the table today, for those that are wondering. Here he is.
That's how SES looks live when he's not in his little birdhouse over there.
We've got Cam back over there.
When Cam Bam is in producing, it's the cage. When it's Shane, it's the birdhouse. No.
You're not on yet. Now you are.
I feel like I should be like throwing cursing words out because I feel like I'm Mike Sauter sitting here.
Yeah. I could take you down in wrestling.
Oh, I don't know. I'd pay to see that. If you couldn't get Shane, I don't know if we could be friends.
Do you remember when we had Shane do push-ups?
Yeah.
That may have been the was that when we were still doing the
I don't know. Were we on air yet?
I feel like we were doing the dump with Sauter. Was that live? There's no way that was live.
Yeah, it was. I think so.
Live on the radio?
Yeah, and we went back and replayed it.
I remember Sauter came to the studio, and he was very giddy about it.
Weird.
You check that video out. Go look at that video.
A guy that's not used to winning won something.
Shane, was that live radio?
It was.
Or was that dump?
Yeah, it might have been dump. But all I know is I had to have a lot of beer after that because I was pretty sore. I had to have a lot of zipline beer after that.
Yeah, my man.
Hey, do you still have that to go that we made up for you?
I think I have a few of them still.
Which one? Like dang and what else? Dang.
Yeah, probably
dang.
And what else was in there?
Dope.
Oh, dope.
Dope. And
I know he crushed that Nebraska. The
old dear old Nebraska brew. That one's unbelievable.
Yeah, I crushed it. Took me all weekend.
All 12 ounces
of a 6-pack of a mix and match 6. Oh, okay, buddy.
Oh man, hey,
it's okay. We all can't be luscious like Drew Down.
Exactly.
2 for you, presented by Dingman's. As I get dinged up here before we start this beautiful game that we unfortunately had to pass over last week. Not the holiday, Shane.
Easter?
Nope, not that either. But maybe it's for you because you need to go to Dingman's if you have trouble with your car. 4 locations throughout the metro area. Thank you. They have a standalone mechanical shop that you can drop your car off at as well. And plus the community of Dingman's is just fantastic. The customer service is off the charts. The people there will take care of you, especially if you mentioned coffee and cream. They will give you some extra love. Go to Dingman's if you have trouble with your car. Cam has to play this game. Like, with him being here, we have to.
I don't know, Cam, but if you beat me, I'm just telling you, we may have to like rearrange your job situation because Hail Varsity Club is looking. Just go to hailvarsityclub.com, hit /apply.
There's a great hire on
Yep,
bonus.
you could be on the could be on the front end out front, or you could be on the back end. By the way, I got 2 of my players that are going to come out here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, one of them, Spady, good worker.
See, that's what they need here. And if you have a good work ethic, which I'm assuming you do, if you play high school football at Westside, you can work at Hail Varsity Club.
He asked me, it was between here and Pisons, and apparently he's scared of hers. So, and in his defense, I texted him late last night. I was like, hey, call me when you get this message. And then I wasn't by my phone, and he panicked. So he just came over.
Burrs?
Yeah. Like, I got home from the player meeting, and he was
in your living room.
Well, he was sitting out front in the street, and I go, and I didn't see him. I didn't recognize his truck. Then he like bangs on the door, and he goes, "Dude, are you good?" I go, "Yeah," and he goes, "You don't usually text like that. I thought something was wrong."
Good man.
I was like, "Wow, do you want some food?"
Hey, I made ribs and smoked mac and cheese the other day.
I gave him some of the ribs.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So Cam, tread lightly here, okay?
Yep.
All right,
and if
I'll throw the game.
Well, you know what? If Cam wins this and wins trivia, we may be changing the Benning burger to Broham burger.
The KB burger. Yeah.
All right, so Cam, you're going to play this, and you can choose who you are going to pair up with. You know the game, 2 for you?
Yeah, I got the gist.
So who do you want to play with?
Well, since TV's mad at me, can I go Shane? Can I pick Shane?
Yes, you may.
Shane and who? Andrew or Shane and me?
No. Let's have Cam and Shane play together.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, we can just sit back and relax.
Fantastic.
And if you want to call in and try to win a Hail Varsity Club gift card, these 2 will play for you.
Yeah,
888-638-4876. Give us a call if you want some free dollars.
Dude, Shane and I used to share a cubicle, so I think we're right there.
All right. Do you have the music over there, Cam, by
Nobody
chance?
is kindred spirits with Shane in this game.
Yeah, I have the music.
All right. Shane, you ready?
All right, let's do it.
Cam, you ready?
Let's do this.
DB, let's write down our answers, too.
Right.
Oh, this is the game I got to write stuff down with?
It is.
Glad you got a pin this time.
All right. Something you pick up in your yard.
You're wondering why he's still writing?
Shane has a.
He just makes you nervous, doesn't he? Probably some long-winded answer.
A famous scientist. Okay. A way to say hello in a language other than English.
That's funny.
And
Shane's still thinking about languages.
This is just, these are the. Are you serious?
Shane, relax.
Wowzer.
A sport that requires a lot of equipment.
Oh, that's a good one. All right.
We ready? We'll let them go first, DB, and then we'll tell everyone our answers too. All right, Cam, on the countdown, when I say 3, 2, 1, you say it at the same time. Something you pick up in your yard. 3, 2, 1.
Grass.
Sticks.
That was not at the same time. You're fired.
Just a little thing.
Grass,
man.
sticks.
Well, I wrote it down, so I have to go by. I'm a man of my word here.
I put sticks.
Technically, you don't pick up grass.
Well, you do if you don't have a catcher on your lawnmower. So you
Well, no, you
didn't
mulch
pick
it.
up.
Well, you can do that, but most people just mulch it and leave it
You
there.
know, the whole 5-6 pickup
Yeah.
sticks. Like, come on. Everybody said sticks.
I am nervous about the rest of this round now.
Dude said grass.
Well, I was going to say crap from your dog.
That's not a bad answer. Good answer. Good answer.
Oh, a famous scientist. 3, 2, 1.
Einstein.
Einstein.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's what
I
I had.
said Einstein.
I had Einstein too. Okay. A way to say hello in a language other than English. 3, 2, 1.
Hola.
Yep. That's what I had. Hola.
Why'd you say yep?
Because I guarantee he didn't know how to say it.
No, I haven't written down.
He didn't know how to say it. He was thinking.
Let me see.
He's like, holla.
I had the Spanish version written down. I just put down Spanish.
Can I see it?
Spanish word.
Yeah, hola. I put down the Spanish one.
He just wrote Spanish. He didn't write hola. He wrote
Nice
Spanish.
shake. I like that. That's good.
I don't think he knew.
Oh, I knew.
He's like, yeah, forget it. I don't know this spell. I was just going to go Spanish.
Well, I'm going to have a lot of cervezas after this.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. In a sport that requires a lot of equipment. 3, 2, 1.
Football.
All right.
Wait, they got 3.
They got 3.
So they would have won somebody some
Yeah,
money.
they would have actually. That would
$20.
Yeah, because it's 10, 20,
Yeah.
and then 40.
Yeah.
Cam and I would have won 40. I had all 4
We
answers.
had them all, yeah.
Did you have the same 4?
Yeah, no.
You have fun picking
Yeah,
up
you
your
did,
sticks
right?
over there, Cam.
Oh, you put
Leaves.
leaves? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Leaves.
Well, you had 3 out of 4.
So
There you go.
We'd have been in there. All right. Are we doing this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
We'll do it quick. Cam, give me some music. We got to go fast.
God, this is going to be super fast.
A job that starts with the letter P, as in Pinocchio.
Okay.
A foul in soccer.
Okay.
A weekly guest on the radio show.
Okay.
And something that rhymes with Shane.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
A job that starts with the letter B. 3, 2, 1. Plumber. That a boy. A foul in soccer. 3, 2, 1.
Tackle.
Trip. Oh, different. I'd say.
Yeah.
A weekly guest on the radio show. 3, 2, 1. Sam
Sauter.
McEwen. Almost said Sauter, too, just because it was the Hurrdat Sports. Bam. And something that rhymes with Shane. 3, 2, 1. Pain. Wow,
we're in a rut.
This was painful.
We just come back.
You know
to
what?
love
I
it.
also think we rushed. We did rush through that. If we had a little time to think,
appreciate your optimism.
or an excuse.
I think we're just bad.
And we're talking NBA next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Grant Williams on Butler. Tatum blocking the corner. Derek White blocking the three of Robinson. Now Tatum with the swagger. Crossover. Step back three.
I love this. You're making this place a little bit more uncomfortable. Take that with your bet, Raleigh.
9-0 Boston run and another timeout taken by Eric Spoelstra as the Celtics have pushed the lead to 14 with 7:52 to go. And if you're overwhelmed, as I am right now, by a dominating sense of deja vu, it's because this is exactly where we were in Game 7 at this stage of the fourth quarter a year ago.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, as we wind this thing down on a Wednesday. DB, to be completely honest, I thought your mic was on when that clip was going, because I thought that was you going, ooh, 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 ooh.
Yeah, that was. See, I would not do that. That would be very unprofessional.
I just thought that was you. I think it sounded like your voice going like, oh, oh, oh.
I mean, I have done much worse. I mean, why wouldn't I?
Oh, dude, like that.
Yeah,
like that
I
little
get
laugh
it.
right there.
I get
That's
it.
why I thought it was you.
I get it, funny guy.
Oh, man. It wouldn't shock me either if you were on that call. You're on the call for a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
Let's go to the phone and bring in our next guest, Sean Deveney, NBA insider for Heavy.com, at Sean Deveney on Twitter. Sean, good morning.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Oh, just trying to figure out my level of embarrassment. Yesterday, I uttered the famous words, yeah, Boston's probably not interested in coming back to the Garden to play. Vacation is looming. And then all of a sudden, last night happened.
They look good. This is
I think we forget about their talent, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we expected, and it's really hard to figure why it's taken to Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals to see this version of the Celtics, and certainly it's probably going to be impossible to expect it for the next 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
We know no team's ever done that. So there's a lot there, but at least they showed a little bit of fight, a little bit of heart, which was definitely missing in Game 3, where that team just completely laid down. So yeah, it was. I'm sure if you're a Celtics fan, if you're in the front office, if you're part of that staff, you're happy to see this, because at least you're not going to go out on the note that that Game 3 left. At least you're going to go out, assuming Miami eventually wins the series, at least you're going to go out, having put up a fight.
Sean, assuming it's too little, too late, but if this series does go to 7, who would you lean in a Game 7? The Celtics winning 3 in a row and taking it back home, or would you think that there's no way that they win that 4th and the Heat get over the hump and move on to the NBA final?
Yeah, I mean, if you can get to a Game 7, then I would certainly give the Celtics a big advantage. I mean, because at that point, all the pressure's on the Heat, right? I mean, we've seen that before. I'm here in Boston. Of course, I remember the Red Sox coming back against the Yankees in 2004, and you had a sense by the time you got to Game 7 that this thing was done. That all the pressure was on the other team, the team that is, possibly going to do something that no team has done before in a bad way. So I would think in a Game 7 you'd have to give the Celtics a really big advantage. They'll probably be favored in Game 5, so at least they, it would come down to, okay, can they win a Game 6 and then just let it all, let the cards fall where they made it in a Game 7. It's a lot to ask. We've never seen a 4-game winning streak within one series in an NBA playoff, so it would be tough. But when you put it that way, hey, look, you got to go on a 4-game winning streak. Teams do that all the time, so not impossible.
So let me ask you this, Sean, because I said, now this was literally a month ago, almost after the win against the Knicks, and I said at some point the Heat would have to tire out, right? Like I just felt like they were exerting too much on the offensive end for a team that had been historically inefficient offensively, or at least throughout the season. And here we are. Then they get up 3-0. I'm like, but is now a time where guys start to revert back to the mean? Because they were way ahead of the curve. And people said, well, where has this Heat team been all season? Is it possible, but who they have been the last couple of months or the last month isn't who they are either?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen what we're getting from the Miami Heat right now. I'm not sure I've seen it in really any sport because the way they played in the postseason here, and don't forget they almost got knocked. I mean, they lost to Atlanta in the first play-in game, and it was only because they beat the Bulls that they were able to turn around and get even the 8th seed. So yeah, this is a team that didn't make any major additions. I mean, Kevin Love's been good, but it's not like he's a complete game changer. And in fact, in the playoffs, first game of the playoffs, they lose Tyler Hero, their number 2 scorer. So, this is it's a pretty crazy thing for them to get into the playoffs and to be such a different team than they were in the regular season. I mean, they were 34%, one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league in the playoffs. Now they can't miss. And I've never seen anything like that. A team just kind of changed its identity. So, yeah, I mean, you do have to wonder if there's sort of a comeback for the Heat, if they come back to sort of where they've been throughout the year. And certainly if you're them, you don't want that to start now, but 8 for 32 on the 3-point line in Game 4. That's a little more like what the Celtics were hoping for from this team.
Sean, whether the series goes 5, 6, or 7, on the other side, Denver's just chilling. They're relaxing. Yeah. They're just waiting to see who they're going to play. Is that benefit for the Nuggets, or would you say that could also hinder them waiting so long to play the final series? Because you could kind of look at it as a benefit on both ends, or you could look at it from the stance of, well, they're coming out cold. They don't have the momentum that the Eastern Conference team is riding.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that comes up pretty much every year when you get something like this happening. And if they come out and they look good to open Game 1, you say, oh boy, they're well rested. If they come out and they can't make anything in Game 1, you say, oh gee, see, they're rusty. So I mean, right. It kind of depends what happens. I think with Denver it's a little different, especially if Miami were to win this series. If the Celtics stretch them to 6 or even 7 games, and then Miami has to go to Denver, then I think that's a big advantage for the Nuggets because it's different playing in Denver. You're at altitude. If the Heat could have had a sweep and then spent a week in Denver adjusting to the altitude, then that's a big advantage that they'd have. That kind of, or at least it wipes out an advantage that the Nuggets usually have. So it is a little different with Denver, and because of the altitude, and if the Heat do advance, assuming they do, the quicker the better, because they'll need to get out to Denver to really adjust to that, so that they're ready for Game 1.
Sean, with reports or at least rumors that Doc and it's funny, a doc and a nurse. And the discussion for the Phoenix Suns job. But all jokes aside, what's the best opening job in your opinion right now? Roster, cap space?
Yeah, there's obviously the Milwaukee job and the Phoenix jobs are pretty plum jobs at this point. You've got Giannis on one side, you've got Kevin Durant on the other. I think
Phoenix roster is bad.
It is, but they're in a position where I think they'll move DeAndre Ayton.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he had trouble with Monty Williams, and there's some thought, well, they got rid of Monty Williams, so they'll keep DeAndre Ayton. No, they'll still be looking to trade DeAndre Ayton, and they can really solve a lot of their roster issues. If you got Kevin Durant, you don't need a high-scoring center. You need a guy who can block shots and play defense. That's what you need at center. So you don't have to spend the money that they're spending, $30 million a year on DeAndre Ayton. So I would expect them to try to trade DeAndre Ayton and fill in some of the gaps on that roster and get much better, much quicker. So, I think that's probably the better job. And the reason I say that is if you look at Milwaukee, there's going to be a lot of pressure to win, and those guys are getting older. Drew Holiday is getting older. Chris Middleton's going to be a free agent. I think they've got a lot more trouble rebuilding around Giannis than Phoenix will. I think Phoenix has got some assets it can use.
Sean, I'll get you out of here on this. The big story coming after the Lakers getting swept was LeBron saying that he doesn't know if this is going to be his last year. He tossed around retirement. Is there a hidden agenda there with him? Do you see this as like being a real thing, or is it almost like I don't want to use the term threat because I think that's a little harsh, but a threat to the Lakers saying like, hey, get me a better team, like surround me with better people at this point?
He would just
Right. If you've ever seen the movie Trainwreck with Amy Schumer, LeBron makes an appearance in there, and like there's this running joke about how cheap LeBron is, and he's counting like the tip at their lunch and all that stuff. And LeBron, that's a joke, but if you talk to people, know he's really like that. He's not gonna, and I can tell you, he's got $100 million left on that contract. He ain't going to retire. He's not going to leave $100 million on the table. No way. But you're right. Yeah, it is all about leverage with LeBron and what can he use against the front office to get the things that he wants. And this is something that he's trying to use. I think the front office isn't going to buy it. But at the same time, he's probably going to try to push for a Kyrie Irving trade. And it's going to be a matter of whether they can get that over the finish line or not without giving up too much. And that's going to be difficult to do. So I think that's what this is all about.
Sean, we appreciate your time today. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay, thanks, guys.
That's Sean Deveney, NBA insider for Heavy.com. That'll do it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow. More CNC then.